He introduces me to his patent attorney. And he says, Dave, we would like to patent this. I cannot tell you how much pride. Excuse me. It was spectacular. It was life-changing. I was like, listen, I could get a patent. It just never dawned on me that somebody would not just take it, but take credit for it. And I said, what do you have in mind? And the first words out of his mouth was cell phones.
And they were about the size of the footprint of a shoebox.
They were bulky. They used a lot of power. There were a bunch of chips arranged together with other parts like transformers and inductors and capacitors.
Why hasn't somebody advanced the art to where this could all be put into like a microelectronic chip? And David said, I don't know. And I said, well, let's find out.
It took about 2 years to complete, but I got it done and it worked really well.
His idea was to do what people had been talking about for a long time, what's called direct conversion. Well, the way the data was extracted traditionally was in multiple stages. The challenge with that is that's what made all those components, all those tuning things. David's idea was to do it in a single step, right from the radio signal right to the data.
What happened was I developed a direct conversion architecture that exceeded the performance of that superhet. It didn't meet it. It wasn't close. It actually beat it. And by the way, I had a team of 5 people. This wasn't just Dave, so let's give those guys a lot of credit, okay?
Well, turn the clock forward to today. This is why your phone can work in 40 different bands around the world with one radio transceiver.
This piece of technology was key critical in getting the 4G standard started for everybody.
Without this technology, you'd have so many chips in there, so many supporting components. Yeah, you could do it, but your phone would be the size of a small shoebox. Yeah, you could do it, but your battery would last half as long. Yeah, you could do it, but your phone would cost a lot more money.
It wasn't just an idea. We built it, we made it, and we sold it. And we owned it.
This is the reason why you have Wi-Fi in your phone. This is the reason why Bluetooth can fit in your ear. This is the technology that enabled that.
This was a paradigm shift that you could put entire radios on a chip and remove all the external components, which were hundreds of components, are just gone. There's all of a sudden this little tiny integrated circuit chip.
Without any warning, Jeff walks into my little office and he introduces me to his patent attorney. And he says, Dave, we would like to patent this. I cannot tell you how much pride. Excuse me. It was spectacular. It was life-changing. I was like, listen, I could get a patent. And it was useful, right? This is something that worked, and we hit a bullseye. It was the size of a postage stamp. It cost very little money. It was very high performance. And I said, what do you have in mind? And the first words out of his mouth was cell phones. There was a company that I didn't know anything about called Qualcomm. And Jeff actually ended up using some contacts to get us into a meeting.
So David Sorrells and I go trekking out to San Diego, which is their headquarters, and we meet. And we explain to him that we've developed this direct conversion technology that can take a radio signal to its data in one step at these kinds of performance level. So we come back at the beginning of 1999 after having had several months of conversations before that. And we get to the lab with this circuit board with this new CMOS chip. And as we're walking into the lab, they go, you and David can't come into the lab.
We want to test this our own way. We're not even going to tell you how we're going to test it.
I was a little put off by that, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, they can't see into the chip. They're not going to get anything other than the inputs and the output.
They came out of that meeting very, very excited.
And you could tell they were like almost giddy with enthusiasm.
We went in and showed it to them, and it was nothing like they imagined it was.
And the next thing I knew, the business development people were in dialogue with me about how do you want to work? What's the relationship you're looking for? The conversation from there from Qualcomm was, we want to license this. This is great. This is amazing. In order to license, they have to know how it works, right? Because they're going to basically use the recipe within their own chips. We must have spent the rest of 1999 going through licensing negotiations with these guys. I had this relationship with a big company before. The relationship was very open. It was very transparent. This one feels different, and I just don't feel good about this.
It didn't take long in licensing negotiations and whatnot that spirit of cooperation went south fast. For whatever reason, the licensing negotiations collapsed. And everything kind of just went radio silent, which was fascinating to me because they were telling me, you know, at least for a while, it was kind of like the holy grail of RF. They had been looking for it, this kind of thing. And so somehow we went from that to, we don't really need it, thanks for coming by.
I said to the board, look, we've been having this conversation with this company, but it doesn't feel right. And ultimately the board decided, let's take a pass on this one. So we did. And we went our way, and Qualcomm went their way. Several years later, Qualcomm came out with a new line of chips. Their market share actually was going down. And they came out with a new line of chips for smartphones. And these were great chips. They were killers. And I said to David Sorrells, I said, David, those chips are really amazing. Wonder what technology's inside there. So when these new smartphone chips come out from Qualcomm, maybe it's the year 2006 or 7, their market share is in the 25% range, something like that worldwide. All of a sudden their market share starts to climb and it goes 50%, 75%, like almost 100%. I mean, these chips were just eating up the market. 2010, one of our team members, Richard Harlan, I'd asked him to look around the internet to try to figure out what's going on in the marketplace.
I found a paper and I found some patents that Qualcomm had done, and I go, boy, when they explained what they were doing, I go, man, it sounds a lot like what this engineer had described to me was the ParkerVision technology.
And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at what they take credit for, and literally they have all the timing diagrams and architecture straight out of our patents in this paper.
And I talked to David, and I say, David, is this what I think it is?
It's there. I could see it. They walked right into my intellectual property backyard, took it, and ran off with it.
I mean, I honestly did not, it just never dawned on me that somebody would not just take it, but take credit for it.
I can just tell you from my perspective what I've seen. They are absolutely dead to rights, took our stuff and are using it and made $1 bazillion. We gave them disclosures. They magically didn't have this stuff until before the disclosures. They weren't using it before. They started using it after. That's when all their stuff started working and they started getting the benefit. And if you look at their market share, it exploded. These are the same guys that their own emails say this is the holy grail of RF.
Next thing I know is I call Rob Stern, our patent attorney. I say, Rob, we just found a paper, Qualcomm's latest chip. It's got our technology right at the heart of it. What do we do? And Rob says to me, well, unfortunately, you're going to have to file a lawsuit. He says, unfortunately, I'm going to get sued. And I go, what do you mean you're going to get sued? What did you do? He says, it doesn't matter. It's Qualcomm. And I didn't realize what he meant until we got into this lawsuit with them. And we filed a lawsuit in Orlando, Florida against Qualcomm. About a year after we filed the lawsuit, I get a call from McCool Smith and they go, you know, Jeff, we just got in discovery all of Qualcomm's emails that are related to this lawsuit. And they say, look, when a client comes in with a situation like yours, we hear their story. And we usually say, you know, if half that story is true, it's going to be a pretty good case. Well, in your situation, we have now found every single thing you and David Sorrells told us in Qualcomm's own emails. Everything. He said, I don't think we've ever seen an email discovery with information like this in any lawsuit we've ever had. Your entire story is in their emails. And it was interesting because my suspicions about the negotiation with them and why I didn't trust them was all confirmed in those emails. Filed the lawsuit in 2011. In about 2 years, we were at trial, and we won the trial.
We were there for 2 weeks, and we received a unanimous jury verdict. They found in favor of ParkerVision, and
everybody leaves the courthouse excited. There's going to be an ongoing royalty. The judge is going in our direction. Away we go to the next steps.
And the judge is like, look, you're going to get some ongoing royalties. So he ordered us to go off and negotiate an ongoing royalty. And he said, if you guys can't negotiate it, I'll pick it for you.
6 weeks later, the judge enters his final order, reverses the jury verdict, and throws the case out.
The judge decided the jury got it wrong, he got it wrong, everybody got it wrong, Qualcomm had it right, And just to say it was unexpected, realize we had turned in our royalty report to the judge. We were ready to go. We were ready for him to enter his final order.